but true humility, ownership of my humanity, practicing seeing myself as equal, regardless of achievement, regardless of experience, to just see the opportunity to learn from others. What does humility really look like? I heard a definition recently that was shared with me by my bro, Astro, that humility is the capacity to have high regard for others. I thought about this. I was really chewing on that one for the past 24 hours. Having high regard for others. I think about ego and humility as being these two counterparts. The way I experience my ego is the part of me that inflates who I am, that hoists me and my idea of myself up above others in a healthy way to build confidence and courage and strength, and in the unhealthy way to put others down, to see myself in a false or dishonest way as being better than other people. A self-preservation, if you will. You see, that's what the ego functions as. It's a way for me to preserve the idea I have of myself because of the parts of me that feel insecure, uncertain, unsafe in who I am. Humility is the balancing point to ego. And this definition of having a high regard for others means that there's something I can learn from everybody in my life. Every experience, every encounter, every relationship that I have means that no matter how much I think I've learned, no matter how smart, intelligent, capable I believe I am, that there's always something for me to learn from somebody else. This puts me in a level playing field with other people, especially those of us who start to build a source of strength, a foundation of knowing who I am. Purpose-driven people on this planet. We build confidence and momentum as we travel, and inevitably we're going to encounter people that seem, quote unquote, less than, less experienced, less strong, less confident, less capable than me. Humility. True humility is having the capacity to see the wisdom and strength in other people. Everywhere around me, there are people that I can learn from if I'm willing to practice holding others in high regard, in high esteem. Now, there's also a shadow side to humility. We talked about the shadow side of ego. The shadow side of humility is elevating people around me higher than myself, to see myself as less than, to keep myself small, to see myself as incapable, incompetent in comparison to other people. That's a pseudo humility. That's a self-preserving version of humility. It's a tricky one. If you know it, if you're familiar with it, if you recognize it in my voice, then you know how tricky this can be. Just think about the places and areas in your life where you've hoisted others up around you, put people up on a pedestal because of how great they seem, the things that they're capable of doing, saying, showing up as, that you're not. Lifting them up, elevating them so that you can barely see around you. Like standing in the middle of a canyon and being stuck in the shadows of these beautiful, magnificent canyon walls. It's a really safe place to hide. Not a lot of risk, not a lot of failure when I'm stuck in between the canyon. So there are these false egoic practices and these false humility practices that are all done, again, to preserve the self that I am. But true humility, ownership of my humanity, practicing seeing myself as equal in the mirror and reflection of others around me, regardless of achievement, regardless of experience, age, any other factor that we might compare ourselves among, to just see the opportunity to learn from others, to see where I can take something away from somebody else's experience, holding others in high regard, equalizing the playing field. When we sit in ceremony and in circle, we all sit on the ground. Nobody has a throne. Nobody's positioned higher or above anyone else. And that's done to remind us that we are all humble beings of this earth, that we are all born, that we all shit our pants when we're babies, that we all die and we return back to dust someday. Everything that happens in between is inconsequential, because at a baseline foundational layer, we are all made of the same stuff. And when I practice humility in my life, when I take radical ownership for who I am, take responsibility for the money story I have about myself, the belief that I have that I may not be able to achieve what the next person down the street has achieved, that I'm not as handsome as the other person, that I'm not smart enough, that I'm not articulate enough, that I should be a better strategist when it comes to comparing myself to so-and-so that I saw on Instagram. Humility is taking full ownership of all of those things. Like that movie 8 Mile with Eminem, that final scene where he just takes ownership of everything that everybody has ever tried to put him down for. What was the result? Empowerment. And if I can own all of those things about myself, if I can take responsibility for every one of those pieces that ordinarily I would feel ashamed of, that becomes my new floor. All of a sudden, that's as low as I go. It doesn't go any lower than this. I already owned and said everything there is to say about who I am, took responsibility for it, had the guts to say it out loud, to say it proud, and to correct it with my actions. There's nothing more empowering than that. That's the new floor. And now I'm holding myself in high regard. Not an overly inflated regard for self, but a real, honest, authentic assessment of myself. That's humility. And you know that you've accessed it when you realize that you are no better and no worse than anybody else. Nobody. I hope this really helps. This conversation of taking ownership and responsibility for ourselves, who I am at a core level, can't mess with me. Nothing can mess with me when I take responsibility for that. It takes all that power and authority back from everybody else who might have tried to use that over me, and it puts it back in here. So I hope this one's really hitting for you. I see too many men out there who struggle with owning who they are. So what if you don't know how to manage your business right now? So what if you've got $0 in your savings account? So what if you don't know how to be in a relationship with a woman yet? Own it. Take responsibility for it. Because that alone doesn't define you. That alone doesn't make you who you are. And if you can own it and take responsibility and move forward towards where you want to be, then the only outcome is going to be strength. I hope you heard this one. I hope that one really landed and registered in your brain. Now it's time to put it into practice. Bring it into your body. I challenge you. I dare you to go out into the world. Find someone to just spill your guts to. Say, yeah, you know what? I got no money in my bank account right now. Haven't been in a stable relationship in 5 years. I don't feel proud of who I am when I go home and look at myself in the mirror. Some days, I don't even recognize myself. That's the truth. And stand in it, own it, embrace it, feel it, see what it feels like to say that to another human being, and notice what their response is. And then tell me about it, because I bet it's not what you imagined it would be. All right, y'all, try that out. I challenge you to do it. See you on the next episode. Make sure you tune in every week. Monday morning meditations right here on the Rising Man Podcast. Peace. Love.